Hello and welcome. As you may well know, an incident from the past few weeks has rekindled the discussions about abuse in relationships and marriages, particularly violence against women. Today on Say It Loud, we are dissecting reasons victims of abusive relationships and marriages stay at the detriment of their well-being and how they can be helped. When we return, I introduce my guest. My name is Lord Harris Edwasari. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Say It Loud. My name is Lord Harris Edwasari. Now, today our guest is Yvonne Damali. She is a family member, actually a cousin of Lilian Dedjoe. As you would recall, Mrs. Lilian Dedjoe was allegedly killed or battered to death by her husband. Now, let me welcome you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. I know these are very trying times for the family. But tell me, why would anybody stay in an abusive relationship or marriage for that matter?
It's not a question of why would they want to stay in a relationship or a marriage that is toxic or abusive.
Okay.
These people got married or they're in a relationship because of love. So usually the person who abuses them as the one that is perpetrating some form of human rights abuse against them. But the victims are usually still in love with the person. Okay, so that is one reason. They are in love. They're still in love with the other person that is being abusive. Again, society has not helped because we are in a society where once there is abuse and you want to walk out of the relationship,
That's true.
particularly with women, they tend to stigmatize you, that it is your fault. Everything is put on the woman, that it is her fault, for which reason the marriage or relationship isn't working well. And because they don't want to be stigmatized, they tend to stay in that abusive marriage. For women who have children with these abusive spouses, it is even more difficult because they get out of the marriage and it's difficult to get another man to marry them.
So they would rather condone the abuse?
They don't condone abuse.
Okay.
But they are left with no choice. So there are various factors. Let's say sometimes it has to do with financial situations. Most of the abusive relationships and marriages, if you check, you realize that the ladies aren't working or they are not financially sound. Those with children, even if you check, because I am in group with female, I am a woman, I am a mother, I am a wife. When you check, you realize that most of these abusive relationships don't even allow the woman to work. They don't expect the women to make more money than them, or even when they are making money, it's not enough for them to walk out of that relationship or marriage and be able to take care of their kids. So they would rather stay in thinking that the little support they get from the man could actually help them take care of their children. So that is why they stay in for the children, they stay in for the money, they stay in because of stigma, they stay in because to them, where are they going? They don't know the other person they might go to be in a relationship with, and the kind of abuse that person will also make out to them. So they would rather stay in a relationship because, like the popular cliche, the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know. So these are some of the reasons why.
How close were you to Lilian?
Well, Lilian is my cousin. I wasn't that close to Lilian, even though there are times we chat, exchange messages. Yes, we have that, but we're not that close. I am rather very close to my uncle, who is the father of Lilian.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So because of your relationship, you may not have known about her abuse. Did she ever disclose or give you any picture?
No, we never spoke about abuse. The fact is that Lilian is a private person. She would rather keep most of these things to herself. Why? Because, again, society, families, the churches haven't helped us. They will usually tell you when you are getting married that whatever happens in your marriage or your relationship stays with you. You are not supposed to go out and disclose it with family members. So, yes, she might have a few people that she speaks to, but let me say that it's not something Lilian, from what I know, will go out telling family
About her relationship issue.
about things that happen. She's mentioned it to some of the siblings, not me. I know her father knows about some of the abuse, but that is even not too long ago.
He got to know after she passed?
No. The father knew whatever that was going on. Okay, but it wasn't something Lilian was running. She never ran to the father or family to always report the abuse. So most of the issues we got to know after she passed.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
You
exactly.
talk about the fact that families haven't helped and they may have worsened the case. Was that the case with Lilian?
I come from a family that will never allow a child or their daughter to stay in an abusive relationship. Okay. Some time back, from what I know, a few years back, Lilian had actually wanted to move out of the relationship. And I learned that she actually requested for divorce. But that didn't happen because, again, the man came, there must be mediation. And everybody was hopeful that the relationship was going to work. So that was what happened. So it's not a case of a family asking her to stay on or anything. It's just unfortunate that just when she realized that she needed to act, she died before that time came.
What do you think could have been the best solution in the case of Lilian? Because mediation didn't seem to work. And there are pictures of her being injured. She looked battered and all that. None of the family saw any of these?
We have agreed as a family not to discuss Lilian, but generally, if mediation doesn't work, you would expect the victim to walk out from the relationship. But our system has failed because in most abusive relationships, the question is when you leave, there is no shelter. Where are you going? You are supposed to go to family and friends. Don't forget there is the issue of stigma. Then again, this is a mother or these are people who have children. They wouldn't want to just leave their children. The child factor always comes to play when a woman wants to leave her marriage. The child or the children's factor comes to play because they're thinking, okay, I leave my children, how will they survive? And so they tend to think about the children. And I can say that for me, from what I know, Lilian stayed on, not because she was stupid, but she stayed because of the children.
She stayed because of the children. Is that to say that if she had left, she wouldn't have been able to cater for herself and the children because of economic reasons?
That is not what I'm implying, but I'm talking generally. When you look at it, when you check, you realize that most of the men don't cater for their children when the relationship goes bad. They abandon mother and child or children. They don't take care of the children. The question is, when you walk out of your marriage as a mother, okay, and you even leave your children with the man, do they take care of them well? Who are you leaving the children for? Again, when a mother moves away from marriage or relationship and takes the child or the children with them, and there is no financial support, we are thinking about accommodation, we are thinking about care. We don't have the systems here in Ghana. The structures are not there to shelter this family, a mother and children, to take care of their financial situation, even when the mother is working. It is not easy to take care of children.
So as we speak now, how are the children doing? Where are they now? Are they okay?
Well, I wouldn't want to speak about that. The children are there, they are fine. Yes. But I wouldn't want to delve into, like I said, Lilian's issue. We don't want to talk about it to the media. At the right time, Lilian's father will speak to the issues. I'm not the right person to discuss Lilian.
This is Say It Loud with me, Lord Harris Odasari. We have here father of the late Lilian Dedjoe, Mr. Charles Blasu. Mr. Blasu, how are you doing?
I'm fine, as fine as I can be, by God's grace.
These must be very difficult moments for you. Tell me about your daughter Lilian Dedjoe.
Wow.
Your children, what number was she? Was she first?
She was my very first born. So, just like Adam saw Eve and said, "This is the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones." The day Lilian was born, on the 28th of October 1978, when I first set eyes on her, I felt like Adam did. This is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones. And she has held that special position in my heart as my very firstborn. Yes.
You must have shared a very close bond with her, because first she was your first child, and then your daughter, father and their daughters, they have a special kind of bond. How was yours like?
Much more than anybody can imagine. We have a very special bonding. I think it even borders on the spiritual. Yes, I can say that.
How?
Oh, certain things happen between two individuals, and it's not physical. Like frequency of thought. Okay? I had that kind of relationship with my daughter.
So you could feel her pain sometimes to some extent.
I give you a childhood encounter. When she was a baby, I had gone to work out of town. I felt ill there. When I came back, the mother told me she got up, sat on the bed in the night to say Daddy was not well, and she was crying. And at that time, I really was not well. So that's what I mean by the physical. Yes.
It was beyond telepathy. You had a very strong connection.
Yeah. Yes. Very.
Is that to say, in her times when she was suffering, even after you had given her hand off in marriage, you could sometimes feel what she was feeling?
You are not even digging beyond the surface. There are times when my daughter will insist, I must speak with Daddy and nobody else. Yes, I must speak with Daddy and nobody else. And so no matter how far away I am, I have to be called to speak with my daughter.
So she felt okay once she spoke to you anytime she was in trouble or turmoil?
I would say that she was so loving, humble, and obedient. She would always listen to what I say. She would not disobey me. Yes.
As a grandfather, we know Lilian had 2 kids.
Yes.
How are things like now? Looking at the fact that she's no more.
Well, for now, the children, they were in the house when this thing happened. They have gone through trauma themselves. They need to be counseled. All those ones are being taken care of. Gradually, they will come out of their trauma, and their interest is being taken into account because their life must continue. To live without their mother is something they will have to gradually accept. For now, it's a shock for them.
If I asked you to describe Lilian in 3 words, how would you describe her?
Lilian. A loving daughter. 3 words. A loving daughter.
What will you miss most?
She's so priceless. as my firstborn. That bond between father and daughter is irreplaceable. There's a vacuum now. None of my children can fill that particular vacuum as my firstborn. That's it.
Do you think she's at peace? Do you think she's at peace?
That is a very curious question. How did she die? How she dies determines whether she's at peace. But I have my doubts that my daughter is at peace.
You don't think she's at peace?
I don't think she's at peace. I don't think so. And it grieves me that we expect that when you die, they say, rest in peace. But we know people die and they don't rest in peace because of the circumstances under which they died.
Did she ever give you subtle hints about the pains she was going through?
Forgive me, let's not touch on that because that opens a whole new chapter and it's part of the case. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Mr. Seth Charles. Bless you.
Thank you too.
Right, so we have been speaking to the father of Lilian, the late Lilian Dedjoe. He tells us she was his first child, and he's been telling us the connection with which he shared with his daughter. But in general terms, how does one identify an abusive relationship?
There are various forms of abuse. We have the physical, which is the battery, the beating, the kicking.
So you see scars and everything.
And everything. We have the emotional one that, if you ask me, it's very serious, but a lot of people don't pay attention to it. We have the emotional, we have the physical, we have the economic abuse, we have the verbal abuse. And I don't want us to forget that when you are talking about abusive relationship or marriage or toxic relationship, most at times, or let me say mostly, happens to women. But some men also suffer
yes, in both sexes.
Yes, the same fate, where their wives or their girlfriends tend to abuse them verbally, physically. They do a whole lot of things to them, but mostly it's women that suffer this kind of abuses.
How can women stand up for themselves without committing crimes or necessarily being abusive themselves?
You see, I think that for a woman not to be abusive themselves stands from the fundamentals. It all begins from the foundation. I think we should begin as a society to redefine what marriage in particular is. Because yes, relationships, but let's focus it more on marriages.
Okay, so we take a quick break here. We are speaking to Yvonne Damali about abuse and violence in relationships, and by extension, marriages. Do stay, the conversation continues.
From the dawn of time, people have engaged in several businesses. With the onset of technology and innovation, life has relatively been made easier. By using debit or credit cards,
mobile banking.
Thank you. And your favorite, mobile money?
tech has indeed married business. On BizTech, we spend time with faces behind known and upcoming businesses in the country.
Learn more about the new technologies and innovation,
as well as find out about the trending issues in the world of business.
Join us as we serve you with a variety of compelling interviews, projects, and others right here on Ghana Web TV.
Welcome back. This is Say It Loud. We are speaking about abuses in marriages, and we have with us Yvonne Damali. She's a family member of the late Lilian Dedjoe. Now, Yvonne, you're telling us about how women can stand up for themselves in marriages without necessarily being abusive themselves. Tell us more.
Yes. In my opinion, I would say that most of the time women tend to become abusive because of the abuse that they're going through. For instance, when a man is cheating on his wife, the woman tends to nag a lot. The woman tends to maybe fight the man. It is not because she's an abusive person, but she's only responding to whatever she's going through.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yes, so it's like she's been hurt and she feels her solution is to hurt.
But how can they do that without resorting to hurting?
I think basically if someone is abusing you, you should be able to sit the person down and speak. Even when the person doesn't want to listen to you, you should have a way of speaking to them to listen to you. But if you ask me, I think it all boils down to the foundation of the relationship or the marriage. You should define everything from the start. You should understand yourselves. You should know who you are going into that relationship with, so that you don't have square pegs in round holes. Maybe your husband is the outgoing type, or your partner is an outgoing type, and then you come into the marriage or relationship, you are now fighting the person, or you have become abusive because you feel that you go out something that you don't want. But you should already know. So before you enter, or from day one, define what it is. Everybody should know who they are going out with. Discuss it. I know things can change in the relationship or in the marriage, but as a woman, I think you should know yourself. You should understand yourself. You should know the extent to which you can take abuse, so you don't become abusive yourself. If it's crossing the line, stay if you can. If you cannot, and you think that you being abusive will end up hurting someone else, or it will lead to the other partner hurting you, flee for your life.
So even before the marriage stages, you're telling us about relationships. What are some red flags that people should look out for? So you know that once you see this, it's a no-go area, you just stop it from there.
So if you are in a relationship and your partner keeps checking your phone, know that it's a red flag. If you're in a relationship and your partner doesn't allow you to go out, or keeps commenting or giving instruction about how you talk about somebody, he believes in that woman should be submissive. Woman should not go out. A woman should dress in a particular way. A woman shouldn't earn money or work to make that money. Or the woman after childbirth must stay at home to take care of the child. These are some of the red flags. Begin to ask yourself, are these things I can take? We just heard, unfortunately, that a young woman was beaten to death by her boyfriend. I learned the guy had done that several times. Whatever kept her there, I cannot judge her. But those are red flags. If your boyfriend begins to beat you, or your girlfriend begins to nag and insult you right from the beginning of the relationship, please know that it will end in tears. You won't get anywhere, because the person will progress and advance. Never think once you are married it will get any better, because trust me, it will get worse.
So now you're married, maybe your spouse didn't exhibit any of these things, but due to some circumstances, these things are new. As a mother yourself, with kids, you're married, how would you handle something like that? Stand up for yourself without being abusive?
I think that we should use professional counseling.
That's what you would do?
I will do that. I'll go to a professional counselor. Excuse me, forgive me. I'm not saying the Christian pastors or the counselors are not good. But these people, the religious counselors, if you ask me, tend to be people who have been married for years. And so you go and they advise you based on religion.
Okay.
But relationship and marriage is a serious matter. It's not, if they are professionals, I don't have a problem with it, but seek professional help. When your partner begins to behave outside of their original character or something that you know, the best thing is seek professional counseling. Go speak about your issue. They will help you to settle it out. But if you stay at home and you want to also become abusive, or you think that you can take abuse, even if it's emotional abuse, you die. You begin to be sick, you have BP, you can't sleep. The person does things that hurts you.
About seeking professional counsel, do you just do it alone, or you suggest to your spouse? How does that work?
You see, when you are sick, you go to hospital. So first of all, you go to you look for a professional counselor, a very good one, of course, not those ones on social media or on radio and TV that talk anyhow. Go to somebody that is good. Speak to the person. I think they'll advise you as to how to go about your relationship, or how to even bring the other partner for counseling early. Don't wait until the thing gets so worse, so bad, then you go. You can't pick the pieces. It won't work out.
How do you protect children from all of these? Because children tend to learn from what they observe, what they see.
Children are very clever. They notice anything and everything happening in relationships and marriage. Once you're around them and you're happy, they know. When you are sad, they know. When something is not going on well, they know.
If they do see it, how do you handle it?
If they do see it, as adults who think about your children, please try settle the issue as quickly as possible. Sit your children down, find every means possible to erase that negative thought they have. Because you see, I was once a child. And let me say that even though I didn't see my parents fight, I can say there was some level of abuse. Not a physical one, but my father went in for another woman. And I can tell you that even now, I still feel the pain that I felt then. Because there was no peace in the house. I was never happy. It affected me psychologically. I wanted to see my own parents, my dad and my mom together. I go to school and I am sad because I see like children's parents, both father and mommy come to pick them. That relationship was there, okay? I come from a broken marriage background. So at a point, we were living with our mom and we were not seeing daddy as we wanted to. It affected me till today. I must be honest with you. I was never happy because even when people talk about their dad, I was sad, I was a bit shy. It affected me. So parents, people in relationship and you have children, always remember that whatever you are doing, you are not only abusing your wife or your husband or yourselves, you are abusing your children. Don't let them say it. No matter what happens, think about the children's mental, how do I put it?
The mental state.
The
and how they may
mental
perceive
state.
things.
Think, because it has a long-term effect on them. It has a long-term effect on them.
These are all negative things, and you mentioned that Lilian was a very private person. And you know, society, nobody really wants their business out there. Nobody wants their issues out in the public. Society even warns people against it. But where do you draw the line between letting your relationship issues out there and coming out because it's become toxic?
In everybody's life, you should have somebody you call a confidant. There must be somebody you talk to. Talking itself is even medicine to the soul. If you are hurting so badly, you should have somebody you trust so much to keep your secret. So you go to that person, you talk to the person, you free your mind, you free your soul, you free your heart. If you feel you don't have anybody from your side or from the man's side, talk to a professional. I would rather go for a professional.
This confidant you're referring to, should the confidant be from your side or from your partner's side?
What I know
Or it
is
can be
that
both.
like when you're married, they tell the woman that whatever happens in your home, keep it in your home. If you need to talk to someone, talk to the man's family. And if, because you are now married, you are family, but talk to your husband's family. And if anything happens from the woman's side, the man should talk to the wife's family. So that, you know, when you go to your family, they will make hasty decisions and that will cause conflicts in the marriage. Okay, that's what happens. So you should be able to discern who is the best person to speak to.
As far as
When
that
you
is
have,
concerned.
yes, as far as I'm concerned. If you have to talk to anybody in the family, it should be somebody you are comfortable with, somebody who is matured, somebody who can keep the issues and help you resolve them. It's not somebody who will fly out there and then take your matter out or discuss it or go and destroy what is already getting bad.
Okay. Your final words on this. It seems this has become the norm in society, but it has to be fixed from the root or foundation, like you have outlined in our conversation. But how do we fix this, looking at the male child?
Women in society have great responsibility. Okay, if society will stop the stereotype and name calling thing, like these duties are for girls and women in marriage, and when you get out of your marriage, it means you, the woman, you are a bad person. It is because you were not responsible as a wife enough or a mother enough. That is why your husband misbehaved. That is why the marriage is destroyed. Then I think that we'll get somewhere. With time, it will improve, okay? So parents should begin to see their male children and their female children as children. That division of a boy can hit the sister and they don't talk. If you do it, your brother will beat you. I think it's a wrong thing. They shouldn't say it. If you do it, he will beat you. He's a boy. He's a boy, so what? So he feels that, okay, I'm a boy, I have muscle, I can beat my sister. It should stop. Stop telling the boys that, or don't stop telling the girl, you are the girl, go to the kitchen, go and cook. Don't reduce the girl to kitchen materials.
No stereotype roles.
No stereotype rules. Don't put roles on boys and girls. They are children. Everybody should play the role of being responsible children so they can grow into the responsible adults. Elsewhere, in other jurisdictions, it is the men, okay, both men, let me say both men and women perform the same roles. Everybody cooks, everybody washes, everybody does everything in their marriage and their relationship. Why is it that in Ghana and in Africa, we put the burden is on the woman, so from start to finish, you have the responsibility to do everything. And then they burden the man as, you should bring all the money. So if I'm bringing all the money and I'm working and I'm sweating and I am tired and I don't have that peace of mind, when I come home, I'll misbehave or I'll feel that, okay, I bring the money to the house. You are a wife, you're also bringing some money to the house, but I bring the larger part of the money so I can dictate to you. These are things that we should begin to think about very clearly. So right from when we have children, let them understand that girls must work and bring money home. Boys must work and bring money home. Boys should wash, they should clean, they should lay the bed, they should do everything. Let them grow knowing that these are not stereotype roles. There is nothing like a boy and a girl's role.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Yvonne. But before we go though, are you Christian?
I am Christian.
Where does prayer fit in all of this?
Prayer is very necessary. As a Christian, I know that some things happened because we will say the devil or the enemy, the seen and unseen enemies, can actually impact your relationship and your marriage. They can play with your minds. Some are physical beings that might go to a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or some people dating, courting, and lie about the other person. Sometimes the issues are even true. But the way they will go about it, the things they will say to the other person would cause conflicts in the relationship and marriage. So it is important to pray for yourselves, to pray for each other, to pray for your partner. I don't believe, there is something they always say, you see women in churches praying for their husbands. Their husbands are somewhere having fun. And they'll tell you as a woman, you have to pray. Again, the stereotype roles. You have to pray for your marriage. You have to pray for a relationship. So the woman becomes a prayer warrior. It is important we pray to support our marriages and our relationships. But please, prayer shouldn't be left to the woman alone. Once you are married in Christ, you become one. There is nothing like a husband and a wife. You are put together as one. So pray together. Read the Bible together. Think about the words of God together. Know that there is no place for fighting, for battery, for abuse in Christendom. It is not part of our marital prescriptions in the Bible. So please keep praying. It works. Prayer works. God will intervene. But prayer alone cannot solve, yes, any situation.
Thank you very much, Yvonne Damali, for your time here. So
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
great. So prayer does work, but it will be more effective if both partners, the wife and the husband, pray together about whatever the issue in the marriage is, and no stereotypic roles for male children and female children. My name is Lord Harry Sidwasari, and this has been another interesting episode of Say It Loud. Do join us for our next one.